sign-off is recoupable, there might be a few other things that they will throw in. And to say that, yes, it is to all our benefits that that movie will do well. If the movie would not have done well, one, the question to ask is, did you have 500 million or most times strategy? Was this something done solely with your distributor, in partnership with your distributor? So you both are working on that. And what is the budget you had put into it? We would reference again Hollywood, which 500 million is put into the production of a movie. 100 million or most times 50 of that same value is put into the promotion of the movie. How much do we put into the promotions of the movie? Because typically a producer will say to you, oh no.
Special thank you to Rosanna Hart, Patrick Lee, Michael Indiomuna, Opa Ajayi. We know the conversation.
Hello? Okay. Distributor, please come forward. Francis Nebo of iFind Distributions, please come forward. And then we have Charles Novier, CEO of November Productions, who will be doing the moderation for today. A hand of applause for them, please. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the second panel on the Nigeria International Film Summit. My name is Charles Novia, CEO of November Productions and CEO Teen Africa Television, a new, soon-to-launch channel on satellite very soon. They've already introduced the panel, the members of the panel, and I'm sure I'll give them the microphone in a minute to also talk about, introduce themselves more. This panel, we're discussing the opportunities and possibilities and challenges of film production in Nigeria. And there are salient questions that would also be asked in the course of the discussion. But just to give a brief history of the film industry as I know it and as some of us know it, from the inception, as it were, of the formal home video industry, which we all know as Nollywood today, but which was called home video sometime in the early 90s. It was called home video. I think remember when we were doing stuff then, it was called home video. You want to go shoot home video, you want to go shoot. We didn't have any moniker, no name for it. It was just home video. And it was predicated on, you know, some ingenuity, maybe a freak accident, a stroke of fate. If I remember correctly, the way I remember it, because I've done a lot of chronicling of the industry, there was a time when the TV soaps, the television soap operas, you know, were quite very popular in the 80s. Somewhere along the late 80s, we had Zebejiro coming out with Ripple, yes. Then in between, you had Checkmate in the early 90s from Amaka Igwe and a few. I mean, every day then on the national network, you could see, you would always sit down in front of your television from PM or 8 p.m. and you had something new, something to watch out for every day of the week. I think sometime in 1991, when I think the president was Ibrahim Babangida was the general. He brought this policy sometime in the early 90s, in the late 80s, and that all government institutions that had potentials for revenue generation should be commercialized. And that led to NTA, the NTA board at that time, asking independent producers who were putting programs on NTA network then to pay for airtime. So that's happened. The independent producers resisted, said it's not possible. There's nowhere in the world you pay for airtime when we are giving you content. We can split and share revenue and all that. So it was a strike. I remember very well. There was a strike. The independent producers pulled out their programs from NTA network in protest. And I think that was around that period we had the ITPAN. ITPAN was formed around that period. But because those programs went off, they were off air, the viewers were asking. We couldn't see, they were not seeing their favorite stars. There was syndicated network, you know. Most of the productions went on syndicated network anyway, but they didn't, it wasn't have the same impact as it had when 30 million or 40 million viewers were watching NTA every night. So, because the viewers were not seeing that, there was a lull, there was a demand for people asking to see their favorite stars. That was just about that same time that the ingenuity of a Kenneth Nebwe and Oke Ogunjofo came to play. And what he did was to take the stars from Checkmate and take the stars from and put them in Living in Bondage. And that was how Living in Bondage came out and became a big hit, because people now started seeing their own stars they were not seeing on the television then, on the home video. So this is a background of something that you may not get in the history books, but it is it is a precursor, you know, a precursor of what happened and how the home video industry. So over the years, it grew and it grew and it grew, and a decade later, from '92 to about 2002. This is contentious. A reporter from Washington Times, I think New York Times, came and did a little story and called "Step Aside Bollywood, Step Aside LA, Here Comes Nollywood." And then we had the Monarch. We accepted it. It's okay. Wasn't the name? We take it. And so Nollywood has been there since that time. And we've had generations of filmmakers. So I believe we have a few generational filmmakers here on the panel too. Nee, I think you are third generation. Third generation. Or second generation, as it were. I would like to start talking about the challenges. I don't want to talk about opportunities and possibilities, but probably Nee, you have to start talking about the challenges. What are your challenges? What have you faced as a filmmaker? What do you think are the challenges, and the, you know, what do you think should be done to actually help us filmmakers in those challenges we face?
Okay, thank you very much again for having me on the panel. I'm glad to be sitting with all these wonderful people. Well, filmmaking, the challenges, we don't like to see them as challenges that, you know, restrict the work we do, because ultimately, one of the juices that actually makes art, you know, work is when you have, you know, a lot of challenges. And sometimes the limitation is actually where the creativity comes from. Usually you would have artistic challenges and then you would have technical ones. So let me start with the technical ones, which are actually the ones on the surface right now that is hindering us from becoming truly international. While they were talking about distribution, they did mention a few things like the sound quality we've been having, and picture quality, and some of the other things we've been having to deal with. And this is only happening because we do not have enough trained experts, you know, in this field. It is not that the capacity or the willpower to do it, you know, isn't there. It's actually there. We just don't have the right training for this kind of thing. So I would say the first challenge from a technical standpoint is that we, you know, the industry lacks, you know, capacity. And it is sad that there is a lot of investment going in the route of making more films, creating channels to sell film. But the people to make these films are not even there, to actually do it to that quality. So because I run a studio, a post-production studio, and one of the jobs we have usually is when distributors want to put films on platforms like Netflix and co. There's always a QC backlash, and it usually would come to me, and we'll see some of the QC problems, and you will know that these are problems that could have been handled while the shoot was going on. So because I don't like to see these things as challenges, I would say that they're only challenges for now because we've not taken bold steps into making it happen. We need to really, really be serious. If we're serious about an industry, we need to be serious about the engine that is empowering it. The other one I would say would be probably artistic, and I would only say that from the aspect of, the audience, right? What is the challenge for me as a filmmaker to relate with my audience? The first thing I would say, and I may be wrong, but I think roughly find what Nigeria is. Most of the filmmakers that are probably here, including me, we learned a lot of our filmmaking, studying Hollywood filmmaking, Japanese filmmaking, European filmmaking. There hasn't been any documented thing that I call Nigerians. And I'm so excited that you gave the backdrop so that we don't get this high mind that there was a Nigerian cinema, that was birthed. And then, there's some reference to it. We all just went along with it. So we really don't understand the audience. We don't. I can tell you for free, the film, one of the biggest challenges, someone like me or Jade is having is, what exactly does the audience want? And that influences how to reach them. And we end up making art that, in our head, is just a diluted form of an Oyinbo film, or an Oyinbo film replaced with Nigerian characters. And that is a really big challenge.
All right. Thank you very much, Nii. I'll come back to you in a bit. Well, I have a book. You can go on ebook so that it's called Nollywood Till November, Memoirs of a Nollywood Filmmaker. So please support my ministry there. Published in the USA for effect. Sorry, thank you. But I think I agree that we need a whole lot of experiences to be written and put out there. And the intellectual underbelly of the industry, has not by itself pushed itself out for us to get experiences so that people, the world, can see how these things work here. All we seem to get are, with due respect, box office figures of the films and basically red carpet glam and all that. This is the verve. This is how these guys do their films. These are their experiences written in prose or in theory, as it were. All right, I'll come to Zulu. Zulu. Who said sir? There's Zulu here. There's Zulu Oyibo of Inkblot Productions. As it were, the way it seems to me, you have done, I've seen a few of the films you've done, the last being New Money, I think. Huh? Moms at War, I haven't seen that yet, but I'll see that this week. What have been your experiences? Well, there definitely will be experiences, but what exactly is the peculiar experience you think you have encountered so far that has propelled you or challenged you in such a way that you want to keep putting your talent, your money, your time into a black hole? I will use black hole in positive terms, but I think people will understand what I mean in that regard, in terms of the fact that producers seem to be giving and giving and giving, and the recompense, the remunerations, for such efforts do not seem to match the efforts being put. So what is the peculiar experience? What do you think?
In our popular lingo, the work we did. It's I think everyone in this industry is driven solely by passion. If you're not passionate enough to be a producer or whatever it is you're doing in the industry, you will not survive. It's very challenging, but I think the response from our audience in the end is what really keeps us going. And the fact that we are ready and we want to push out these films to represent Nigeria, Africa to the world. And we have stories that we want to tell. You see, the entertainment industry, where the holders of the the perception of Nigeria. So if we're able to tell stories right, if we're able to tell stories well, and this is what we do at Inglot, we try as much as possible to put in those little, subliminal messages, to get people talking, get people, listening, having conversations amongst themselves when the movie is done. So it's really about the passion to make sure that things get better for us as a whole, and together we can grow. That's what it is. It's passion. It's purely passion.
Okay, thank you, Zulu. Of course, I'm coming to ask a question to you later in a bit. Let me go to Jade Siberu. Congratulations, first and foremost, for your AMVCA. You won 2 AMVCAs, Best Movie West Africa for Soccer, and then Best Director. Best Director, fantastic. It's rare to see the ladies winning Best Directors, actually, really, and so I must commend you. And I think I actually, I think, Jade has, is one of the strong cerebral slant in the industry. She's very intelligent. I have cause to engage her times, and it is not by chance that you won it. It is by traction of your talent. So, having said that, I know that Isokin was your first movie, feature film, and it did quite well at the box office, over 100 million, I think.
I think it's okay. Going in, I already knew I wanted it to be a learning experience because, and so the producer really is unfortunately the most passionate because he's risking over. But there are signs that there are opportunities. The film that I'm directing now is a crime drama. It's not a comedy by any means. It's a bit serious as well because I'm not going. It's supposed to comment about Nigeria and the corruption in Nigeria as well and how we are.
Don't you think there's a limited audience for that in terms of
so this is where I say
commercial
opportunities.
appeal?
What Isoke taught me was as producers we're relying. So we can be lazy in that we say, who's the person who's going to rescue me? It's the cinema man. But the cinema man has his own problems as well that he's facing, infrastructure, the money, the diesel, whatever that he's invested in. We need to say this film, each film, take it as an independent thing and say, who's the audience? If a cinema doesn't exist for this audience, how do I get them to watch it? How do I get them to pay for it? That's what he taught me. And so for me, it's not my money for the film. I have exec producers who have invested. But what I said to them is, you have the networks to monetize this. Before we hit the cinemas, I want you to have made your money. Before we can do private screenings. There are older Nigerian men who are probably going to like this. The government might like this. Let's go and monetize all of that. When we get to the cinema, cinema for me is additional revenue and not the primary revenue. And then besides, it's not a problem. It's not that problem that the cinemas are bad. It's just to say that it's the reality exactly. To say the audience might not primarily exist because again, I went and sold tickets at the cinema. As I always say to people, and this is not. I like Tony Abraham. I always say to people, I saw the trailer for Alakada. I was like, what is this? This is not even a TV film. This is like, I don't even know. But there were people who hissed at my poster and they were like, please give me Alakada. That's what I came here to watch. There are audience people who don't care about your intellectual content, who don't give a damn about your camera angles, who don't care that you've spent money in art direction. They don't care. They want to have a good time. They want to laugh. That doesn't mean that that's the only thing that can sell. As somebody said earlier, the films that I'm rooting for Kemi Adetiba, for instance, who's made a film that is not a comedy. It's an action. And I like the way in which she has gone about marketing this film. It's exciting. People are sharing it. I think authenticity is what the Nigerian audience wants. They want an experience that feels authentic to them. They don't want to see Hollywood as Nigeria. They want to see Nigerian experiences well made in a way that they can recognize, the way they can see themselves, and it excites them and it entertains them. And so I'm excited to see what happens. I think there's so many things that we've not even supernatural, all sorts that we haven't made well. That's the thing. It's not to say people haven't made them before. They just haven't made them well in a way that reaches out to the audience. So for me, it's exciting. Like there are too many opportunities going forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Francis Nebot, you're welcome. How is this is from iFind Distribution, and I'm told that he's responsible for a few of our films being distributed from France, right? Okay. All right. So what in Africa actually? Yeah. Well, okay. So I would like to find what informs your choice of distribution for Nollywood films, because I see that there's an interest. You have an interest in Nollywood films, especially. So what informs your choice for distribution of films?
Okay. Thank you. First, I'm very honored to be at this panel. I'm a freshman despite my age, and production is not yet in the loop, even though I will tell you, answering your question. First, I've been coming to your country for 18 years, since 2000, so I enjoy the country, the people, relation. And my first love was cinema. When I was a student, I had a radio talk show for 3 years. I set up a movie house, and I worked with the French Cinematheque. Now, being said, I turned my page of the telecom industry I was working in, and for the last 8 years, I've been still coming to Nigeria. And 2 years ago, or less than 1 year ago, I decided that I should join the experience that I had with Nigeria and with my love for cinema. And I have seen the industry growing. I mean, Nollywood industry, I mean, I heard the figures that Moses said. If you were to do the presentation 10 years ago, it was maybe $200 million. Now it's going to billions of dollars. And the quality, I have to be frank, I'm very honored because I think I've been distributed. And I took the angle of dubbing them into French. France is a country, like Nigeria. We have this in common, cinema. And we love cinema. And I decided that there is a big French diaspora as well, living all over the world and in Africa.
Can you hear him?
Okay, sorry.
You have to put the microphone.
Okay, sorry.
Right.
So basically, I took this angle and I met Moses and Ijeoma at the very beginning, and we took the challenge, okay, let's identify some of the movies. I'm ready to do a distribution in France, and I have a deal also with Canal Olympia. Canal Olympia is spreading all over Africa. They have in 9 countries, 10 locations. They will have 50 locations in 2 years' time. Basically, Africans are storytellers, even more Nigerians, and your stories appeal to the rest of Africa and there is a market there. Okay, and I think I will join what you mentioned. Patience is what is basically driving me. Money, not really at this stage, but patience. And one ultimate goal I have. This being said, dubbing the movie is like making a new movie. It's completely you strip out. I'm sorry. You strip out the film, and then you have just the images, textless, nothing. Then you have to do the casting. Then you have to find the actors. And sometimes I had one of the query on one of the movie, Kasala. Hema was wondering how does it react, because you know the story of these 4 guys going into the street and wondering how they're going to recover money in order to repair the car. She wanted to know whether it will be a dramatic or a comedy. So we have to find. So in another way, you cannot be saying that we are producers and our director, but we are involved in doing another type of movie. This being said, the experience we have gained with this exposure with Canal Olympia, and also I will come back to France later, I will come back, is that now major players are interested, and this is where I'm very happy to be here, maybe to look at co-production with Nigeria. And personally, I would be happy to bring one of your movies to Cannes with the help of a big studio in France, for instance. And this is the result what has been achieved. It's not the money, it's just the fact that your cinema is being recognized at its true value, that the technicalities have been evolved. Acting still has to be improved, because maybe I don't want to, it's more a theater acting rather than a cinema acting. So there is a lot of things. So all this being said, it brings me back to say, yes, definitely, you have a great future, you have talented filmmakers, you have a blossoming industries, you have people who are entrepreneurs, and yes, I think we can make it. And the theme of this summit is local going for global. I would plead with you at the production level, because it's a nightmare when you are doing a movie, the effects and music tracks. If you don't have this, I mean, you just forget the global things, because then it means that you will have to redo at the post-production level, you have to record everything. You have to record when you're slamming a door, the footsteps and everything. You put them, the technology there. Otherwise, you are dead ducks, and we cannot provide you then a good image of your industry, which is a great industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. I'll come to you in a bit. Yours is enlightening, and of course, it's about the business part of it, and I'm sure a whole lot of people too. The business people would also love to talk more with you. As it were, I'll come to Moses Babatokwe, whom some of us know a lot, and I knew him from Odeon. Moses used to give me, anytime he saw me in Odeon Cinema in Greenwich in London, he would say, "Oh God, did you pay money to enter?" I would say yes. He would refund my money and give me free tickets every time, take me to VIP talking about from 10 years ago and all that. And so it was quite a pleasant surprise to see him in Nigeria. Although I'm not getting free tickets now anyway from but okay, we'll support the industry as it. Moses is basically film one, handling film one distribution, but I think the most important thing or what strikes me about Moses is that he has an in-depth knowledge about distribution. It can take your film, your content, check it out, and turn it into money for you. That's just the truth, and very few people have that. I'm praising you now because I'm bringing something to you. But anyway, Moses, I need you to tell us a little bit about the opportunities of new content being produced, the opportunities in the market. There's an assumption, and that is also not in any way presumptive or wrong, that like I touched on about the black hole earlier on, that people seem to put money into productions. By the time it goes to the cinema, they don't really get it back. So that's like a black hole. But that is also because a lot of producers, just like Jade has said, maybe sometimes think that the cinema is all in all for you to get your money back. So what are the opportunities that you have noticed in the new content that is being produced, and what you think the horizon looks like?
All right, thank you very much. I don't even know whether I can start talking with the praise and everything you've given me. It's great to be here and great to be, with this panel and, really talented, filmmakers with me. It's also an exciting time, to be working in the Nigerian film industry. And I don't say it for hero worship or, grandstanding. It's because the reality is, things are happening. The reality, like Francis says, and we get to talk a lot, the reality is, for some of us, we cannot connect the dots, but the reality is there's interest, and the interest is not unfounded. The interest is because, some things are making sense. While moderating the panel, the last panel, I did, say to you that between 2015 or between 2014 and 2017, the split between foreign films and Nigerian films grew exponentially. Now, there's nowhere in the world, English-speaking territory, where Hollywood's revenue share of the box office is, slowing down, and the local industry is doing well. English-speaking territory, apart from maybe India, it says a lot about the Nigerian industry, and I think that, we should give ourselves a pat on the back. But another thing we fail to realize is that the Nigerian diaspora is also a strong, market. We might not be strong in cinemas, but we're very strong, in terms of other platforms, particularly the ancillary platforms. Imagine Nigerian diaspora in South Africa, the Nigerian diaspora in Canada, in the US, in the UK, in pockets of Europe. That market is dying to be served. A lot of us wonder why Iroko has existed for how long when a lot of SVOD platforms have gone. It's because they see that opportunity. A lot of us also wonder why Netflix decided, a few years ago to go for a number of, films of ours. I mean, the deals on Netflix are, not either here or there, but the truth is they also spot the opportunity we see. But in direct reference to your question, the emerging opportunities that we're seeing, and I think Jade is a testament to what she's just done with Amazon Prime, right, on Isoken. We're seeing, for the first time, interest by transactional VOD platforms, and by God's grace, in about 4 weeks' time, we'll be doing the first iTunes global launch of Wedding Party 2. And that will be coming out in the UAE, that'll be coming out in Europe, that'll be coming out in North America. Well, trying to, conclude on some other territories as well, and this is going to be like the first of its kind. We're looking like even a banner in their, worldwide page, and these are things that were never open to before. But how were we able to unlock that? Because we decided to be bold. We released Wedding Party 2. I don't know if you know, we decided to take a step. I mean, it was an expensive step. We decided to release it in 22 countries, and of the 22 countries, the UK grossed £100,000 in 6 cinemas. Again, a product of collaboration, a very expensive production, not one that everyone can do, but it was necessary for us to make that investment for the industry as it were. Yes, the money will come to our pockets, but in a way we've opened doors. by being available to iTunes. And once iTunes took up, we're finalizing discussions with Google Play, with Microsoft Video, with Fandango, and I think Amazon Prime is the last one. And that's one minefield that no one has been able to work out. In the distribution balance, we talk about windows, and the very first window, and we just had the panel discussion where we talked about the cinema. The cinema landscape is very, very important right now, because I always say to people, it's democratic, it's transactional. It's like you want to see it, and you can't stop. Look at the millions of people we have. If a film resonates very well, and I will quote it here, Black Panther made 816 million in 42 cinemas in West Africa. If you do the screen average, you will not get a better screen average. Now, put it in perspective. If your foreign exchange was 160 or 190 to 1, it tells you how much in dollars, that this relatively, that is a small, industry. And then those that are doing the maths are telling you if it's 42, they're doing 816. If it's 420, what is it? If it's 4,200, what is it? And these are the opportunities. So a lot of the things that are happening is because they can see that out of the madness and out of the chaos, an industry is emerging. A structured industry is emerging where the cinema landscape is there. Or we just talked about the transactional VOD. The subscription guys are there. There's the iFlix, there's the Quases, there's the Rocos. Ebony Life has just launched. Netflix is taking stuff. And then the pay TV platform. There's My Film House, our VOD platform, which we've launched as well as a TV platform. And before you know it, the digital switchover is happening. The TV stations are going. A lot of people want license, but they need content. All right. So people are going to go for, even if it's just to brag, they're going to go and get channels. What does that mean for the filmmaker? What does that mean for the content creator? That means across a number of revenue streams, across a number of windows, there's money to be made. What about airlines? For example, Flower Girl, a lot of people will not know. Flower Girl sold to 15 airlines in 2013. We're in 2018 now. There are opportunities in the airline. And we're proud to say Film One, provides that service, provided the film meets the criteria. And that's why the key about, the post-production and ensuring the, QC areas. So there's that. Jade spoke very wonderfully about private screenings. That's another arena that's opening up. There are people that are not very keen on going to cinema. Neither are they very keen about opening their laptops, or connecting their smart TVs. But they want a more exclusive experience, and they're ready to pay for it. I like to credit the decision of Glow for what they've done with the industry and the number of private screenings that they've done, and the filmmakers that have been fortunate to have their film selected for those screenings have also smiled. We're delighted to be King of Boys very soon to the cinemas, and we're delighted that yes, for everything we've been for in terms of comedy, we're bringing a heavy crime trailer, but we're excited because of a lot of the I'll round up, sir. A lot of the interest that we're getting, on this film without even trying. People have seen the trailer and there's a lot of interest. So the summary to everything is, look, it's a great time to be in the Nigerian film industry. It's a wonderful time, particularly if you are, a stickler for doing things right. Particularly if you want to learn more and ask questions. Particularly if you're a stickler for numbers. And particularly if you're a stickler for planning. You set out to make a film. What's the audience? You set out to make a film. What budget level should I be producing the film at? You set out to make a film. Which distributors should I be using? What marketing strategies should I be deploying? All those kind of things has to start from the planning stage. But I'm happy to bring the good news that, look, and the opportunities are endless. We're an English-speaking territory primarily. That means that you have 350 million Americans that can key into your product. And you have even China now beginning to ask for your product. So the opportunities are limitless. And I'm glad that we are where we are and we can only get better.
Thank you very much, Moses. I'm told we have got 10 minutes more before we take a tea break, and so I have to ask the audience, give us 3 questions, and you ask the questions or comments within less than a minute. Then I'll come back to the panel to give their 1-minute summations. Moses said something about, well, I think, yes, you guys are guilty of the guilty in quotes, positively guilty of the comedy rush in the industry. But it didn't start from you actually. In 2001, a gentleman known as in the Nollywood known as I'll remember his name now. But he wrote a script and which became a massive big hit. Aki na Ukwa. Yes, which you call Aki and Popo. Amayo Uzo Phillips, yes, was like again sometimes great hits, big hits come from as a freak accident. You know, he just saw those two guys and felt he could do something with them, and he put it out. And the late Casvid, God rest his soul, invested in it. The film cost 600,000 naira in 2001. Small money because some of us were shooting with 1 million Gaboski and 2 million there. But the film sold and sold and sold. I mean, it revolutionized the genre, you know, of filmmaking, because before then we were doing a whole lot of other romance or voodoo stories, but that was how everybody switched mostly, as it were, to comedy films. So it launched the careers of John Okafor and a few others and all that. So it's not entirely your fault. There's a market for it. There's a demand for that particular category of film sometimes. It's just that everybody bandwagon effect here without any sometimes without what I see mostly is that, in quote, the Instagram stars, you just pick anybody and say come and act, come and act, come and act. It doesn't follow a form and structure, and that's the problem. But that's even academic. Somebody did something that somebody said you watched and they didn't make any sense, but they did 80 million, 90 million in the office. Then you that did the one that met all the templates of quality, you're still struggling in the box office. We'll come to that anyway. So I'd like to take 3 questions from members of the audience, or 3 comments, as it were. So please limit them. Do we have any? Nobody? Okay. Are you raising your hand? Yes. Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Marina Niava. I come from Côte d'Ivoire. I'm a filmmaker. And I have so many questions, but I'd like to know how our movies doing outside the capitals, outside Lagos and Abuja, because the belief in my country is people don't invest in entertainment outside the main city, Abidjan. And I believe because people there lack entertainment, there might be a good target audience cinemas, and so I'd like to know how it's working in Nigeria. And I would like to congratulate all of you, and among you are several people I really look up to as a filmmaker, and I really like, I'm a fan of a movie like Isoken, by the way, and The Wedding Party too. I would like to know Nigerians, to your opinion, are open to other African movies. How do you see collaboration with other countries, especially other countries than Ghana? Because I've seen many Ghanaian and Nigerian collaborations, co-productions. But do you think the audience is open to it? And you, as producers, are you open to collaborations with other countries? Thank you.
Should I go ahead? Okay, so I'll address your first question. In terms of the penetration in key cities, the way we'll look at it is we have cinemas in about 16, 17 cities in Nigeria, and a number of those cities are particularly strong with Nollywood titles. So we have in Owerri, for example, Nollywood is strong. In Akure, Nollywood is strong. In Benin, Nollywood is strong. I don't think you categorize those places, but maybe perhaps Benin, you won't categorize them as first or even second tier cities, right? So we've seen that, in terms of particularly local content, those cities are really, really strong. The first tier cities, so the Port Harcourts, the Abujas, maybe to an extent Ibadan, those cities will typically still do well with Hollywood. But again, with the right local content, it will come up. You talked about collaborations. I think my filmmaker colleague answering that question, but that's what film has been built on, really. We believe that collaboration is the way, and we also believe strongly in consolidation in terms of production, in being able to bring out the best. Like Jade said, it's a form of collaboration she's doing with Nigerian Trade, for example, where, the people that are funding the film believes in her craft and they're able to work together, and she will believe in other people's craft and bring them together. So we believe in that. And to that extent, Francis mentioned about, co-productions. We're delighted to say we have a BFI funded co-production that arrived this morning that we are facilitating. That's the first. We didn't get any government support. We didn't get any tax rebate, nothing whatsoever. We just positioned ourselves, again, like I said, through what we've done with our industry. And I have a lot of you to thank, to say, thank you for the great content. But the collaborations are already happening. So talking to the right people, the right filmmakers, bringing something to, because it's becoming more and more business conscious decisions that need to be made, those things can happen.
Cinema lines, and how is the cinema going culture in Ivory Coast? Secondly is particularly, how are they films? Are they watched in the version original or version française? And how does that, how in terms of content too, what kind of films are doing well there?
Okay, thank you for the question. Rapidly, interestingly, I just had, before coming, because I had to speak with Jade about some figures. Interestingly, Cameroon is the best for the time being. I mean, because maybe it's both language, English and French, but the first version, Cameroon, Cameroon, and it goes for most of the movies. Jade is doing a good score in with Isoken in Cameroon, Wedding Party, of course, but definitely the first criteria is really the dub version, honestly, because people who are going to the movies, then most of the time they cannot read so quickly the subtitles, so they are not. Now we have a lot of more film festival in France who are interesting to get Nollywood movies. Jade is coming, she's going to be screened in 2 festivals, one in Bordeaux at the end of the month in September, and another one in Besançon, along with Casala, for which we are very proud, because Canal Olympia took the risk to take the movie as it was not yet released in Nigeria. But I heard the good news that it's going to be released. So we are very happy about that, because coming to the question, comedy first. I mean, when I think we had the audience, the speaker saying that what goes into the exhibition house has to go for comedy first. So what happened with Canal? They wanted to test first Nollywood, whether there was a flavor for Nollywood. So they went for comedy. But the good thing is now they are ready to go for different type of movies, actions, drama, author type as well. So definitely it is going very fine. And the key countries in Africa for the time being would be Senegal, Cameroon, Burkina Faso, because it is the home of the, let's say, French-speaking with the FESPACO. So they are references. So definitely there is a good response for this, but the dub version is prime. It's definitely the dub version we have to go for.
Question. Yes, so it should be for any of the others.
Okay, my name is Isaac Moses. I'm a television content producer. However, I have a question for the distributor there, Mr. Moses. I'm wondering if, as a distributor, if you encounter a very good script, like they do in Hollywood, do you sometimes decide to finance such a movie, so as to at least give us more global acceptance? Because sometimes, or most times, the producers have challenges of funding. So that question is for you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So there's no direct answer to that question just yet. I'm looking at my partner. I'm like, what do I say? What do I say? So
need to know.
So, yeah. So yes and no. Yes, as we progress more in the production, side of things, that's where we've taken our time to learn more business lessons. We leave the artistic and creative and technical to a pool of filmmakers that we believe are tried and tested and trusted. A lot of times, we've rarely said we want to just make a film because we like the idea ourselves. We would work with a cross section of filmmakers, look at their work, you know, and believe in their dream or their vision on the film and go for it. That's how we traditionally work. But now we're beginning to relook that strategy and see, okay, if somebody came to us, with a script and we could, have our own input, how would that look? And would we then finance? That's something we're looking at. But it's not what we do.
Okay. Thank you, Moses. I would please give the microphone to Ade to give her 1 minute summation on. You want to start with Niyi first? Okay, Niyi. Niyi is I think Niyi does a whole lot of blogging too. So I mean, it's made quite a huge impact with his blogging and talking about teaching a lot of filmmakers much about the process as he knows it. So. What do you have to say? 1 minute summation.
I'm just going to say this in summary, but I'm mostly going to address filmmakers in the house. What I just want to say is, I know that we all get really passionate about our work. We like to make our films, but we should never forget that we really should stop making films for ourselves or in our heads. And I realize that a lot of assumptions among filmmakers, we always assume and we never know. We need to stop that. And when we assume, we disrespect everybody. We disrespect the audience.
That's from experience. Your first film was,
of course, yeah. So
was terrible.
And I mean, it's every time I get this opportunity, I like to share it. One of the big assumptions we make is to think that the middle class, the high earning class, they like to come to cinemas to watch films. And we disrespect the real people who pay a lot of money, to come and see films. And when we make films with those kind of wrong assumptions, okay, we only have ourselves to shoot, our foot to shoot. So don't make films for yourselves, okay, and don't disrespect the audience. If the audience if you have a specific audience in mind to make a film for, you need to cater to what they want and what they need. And if
just expand on that a little bit. What do you mean? Don't disrespect the audience.
So good. Yeah. So what it means is that you're making films for a certain kind of people, right? There are films that if you sat down with me now and you say, let's watch a film together, I'm sure it's a kind of film that you can't even put in a typical Nigerian cinema because of the taste that I have in film. But I don't even make those kind of films. I don't want to make those kind of films because I want to make a career in filmmaking. It's important to me. I mean, I didn't waste all that money going to school, just to be making films for myself. If you're serious about making career in filmmaking, understand, the audience you're targeting now. And this is not to disrespect the audience. It's to simply say that we do not have, when it comes to the art of filmmaking, we've not evolved to that level where we'll make some certain kind of films, okay? But there are certain things that appeal to us, or there are certain expectations. Do you know that the Nigerian audience expects certain things from Nigerian movies that they don't expect from Hollywood films? They just believe that because it is a Nigerian film, Patience Ozoko has to be angry. Okay, they don't want to see her speak English and sit in front of a very big chair and be the CEO of a multinational. Even if she's a great actress and she can pull it, you need to respect that. And I see a lot of films fail because people don't respect. All I'm saying,
thank you, Niyi. Thank you.
Summary.
Zulu. So, what's next? What's new? What do you have to say? What is the... Yeah. Okay, you did Up North.
Yes.
Ah, fantastic.
So Up North, for instance, is going to be showcasing, what the North looks like in a different light. You would see a lot of the landscape. It's such a beautiful place. Such a beautiful...
In fact, no, you are free to hype your...
But yes, there's a lot of promise in the industry. There's a lot of hope. I know that I'm wrong, Moses. I think last Nollywood had 33% of the box office from like